You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 88. Today it's a solo episode, and I'm going to speak about a bit of a controversial, maybe? I don't know, but you know I don't shy away from controversy. It's all about muting, unfollowing people, and not looking at their content, and when you need to do this. Now, it's a subject that keeps coming up with when I'm an observer of so much on social media, and I do have contact with a lot of people, and I'm very lucky that they share a lot with me. As in, they share their struggles, they share what they're seeing, they share how they're feeling, and I'm really lucky. And I think that anyone that's listening to this, if you have grown a following and you've got that connection with people, you do see different sides to the story, and it's interesting to observe it, but it's also good to learn from this. So when you are trying to grow your social media following, you are looking to engage, you're looking to be on social media quite a fair amount, so you are engaging, you're posting valuable content, you're ticking all those boxes that really help to grow your following. But the downside of that is that it can become all-consuming, and you can find that you are taking in so much content from people, so much that it becomes overwhelming, and it starts to make you feel not how you want to feel. So the point of social media, obviously there's loads of points to social media, but it's to widen our network, it's to connect with people, it's to form relationships and collaborate and work with people, and there's massive benefits for it. But as you're trying to grow your network and expand and build, you will find that not everybody you follow is as they seem. You will find that people aren't as authentic as perhaps you thought they were, and loads of things happen that mean that our follow of someone can make us feel strange. But of course, it's a real taboo subject to actually unfollow someone, because if you're unfollowing somebody, I mean, that's like the highest insult, isn't it, if you unfollow somebody? What I want to say is that whilst in many ways it kind of is, actually, if we take a couple of steps back and have a little look at this situation, it actually isn't. You're not burning their house down, you're not doing anything awful. You're just saying, I don't want to see your content anymore. Now, if this person is a friend of yours, obviously that's more of a thing. If it's somebody who you are a friend with in real life, in actual real life, and you don't want to upset them, then perhaps you want to look more at the mute function, because you don't want to upset a real life friendship and a real life connection just because what they post isn't your cup of tea. That doesn't mean that they're a bad person, and none of this means that they're bad people. It just means that they don't really suit you. And I think we can fall into this trap of following people because we feel we have to, and then the other bit of it is the effect it actually has on us. So in today's episode, I have got 4 reasons why and when you need to unfollow or mute somebody. Because if we want to use the platform and get the most from it, we have to protect ourselves to a degree. By unfollowing somebody, you're not saying they're awful people, and you are still able to go in and like their content and engage with them on stuff when you feel happy to. Equally, when you mute somebody, which is a really good function on Instagram, it doesn't have to be forever. You can mute part of their content, you can mute all of their content, you can mute it for a day, you can mute it permanently. There are lots and lots of variables. So if someone's content is bothering you in that way, you have options. And on Facebook, you can unfollow a page. It doesn't mean you unlike it, but if you don't want to upset someone's feelings, but you don't want to see what's going on, you can simply unfollow. So the first reason for when you need to mute or unfollow someone is that it's affecting your mental health. And this is really, really important. I have muted people and unfollowed people because I have found that their content is not what I want to see. And it can have a knock-on effect on the way you think about things and the way you view things, and perhaps you believe that the world is a much less pleasant place if you hang out with the wrong people. What I'm trying to say very badly is that there is a really good saying by somebody who's far wiser than I am, who says that you become like the 5 people that you hang out with, and so you need to choose carefully. And whilst you're hanging out with thousands of people on social, you need to be careful who you choose, because if you find you are hanging out with the wrong kind of people that have an impact on you, that is going to have a larger impact than just on social media. So if you find that following certain accounts has an impact on your mental health, you need to really think about it. Now, this doesn't mean that somebody is actively being foul on social media and that's upsetting you. It doesn't mean you're necessarily having trolls or you're being bullied or anything like that. It can just mean that you're looking at it and it just does something in your brain that you're not happy with. This might lead to have feelings like you're feeling less than, or you're feeling jealous, or you're feeling cross or angry, or any emotion that you are not comfortable with. That's a good enough reason to mute or unfollow people. You don't need that in your world. Trust me. And when you do unfollow or you mute, and these things people can't track, so don't think you're going to unfollow somebody or mute someone and you're going to get a barrage of abuse at your door. If that happens, that kind of proves the point, right? But it can even be a friend that perhaps you don't need their negativity pulling you down because you're not in a particularly jolly place yourself. And it might be a temporary thing. It might be that you've had something happen in your world that's just unsettled you, and these kind of posts and content is compounding those feelings. I'm not a psychologist or a counsellor, but I genuinely have found, from my point of view, if I take a step back from the stuff that makes me feel cross or anything like that, it's very much a kind of, if you don't see it, it's not, affecting you. But actually, it's really true. So I have muted, I have unfollowed people before, and I'm happy with those decisions. So don't feel like you can't. If someone is having a negative effect on your brain, the way you think, the way you view yourself, anything like that, just stop. I mean, these might be people that you follow who have what seems to be a perfect life, and because you're having a tricky time, you can't handle that at the moment. That's fine too. Like, don't feel that you have to justify why something is making you feel in a way you don't want to feel. You are fine to mute and unfollow. Social media should be a happy place. And, well, a happy place in that is a place that you go and you feel a positive emotion, or it makes you think, or it has generally a positive effect, I think. I'm not saying that the world's sunshine and lollipops. Some things you will see will upset you because it's an upsetting subject. But overall, you want the overall feeling to be a positive one, something that is aligning with your purpose. And if you're finding that it's really not, and it's really bothering you, and it's churning in your brain, unfollow, mute, trust me. Try it. If you're like, yeah, she's talking rubbish, try it. No one will know. You don't have to tell anybody, but try it and see if it has an effect on you, a positive one. None of these things have to be permanent. You can just try. No interest. This is a solid one. So sometimes we follow people at certain times and we have an interest in what they're doing and we want to see what they're up to. But as time wears on and situations change, you realise that you have absolutely no interest in what they're talking about. And this can be something that kind of potentially clogs up your feed and prevents you seeing stuff that you have got an interest in. Or it can just be something that you always scroll by and you never engage with. So if you have got zero interest in what someone is doing, you're probably better to unfollow them. Because why do you need that in your world? You don't. Again, if this is a friend, you've got to think with all of these, the caveat is if it's a real life friend, even if some of these things are the case and they're having a bad time or something like that, perhaps a mute or a Facebook unfollow would be the kindest thing to do, but you're still being able to protect yourself by doing these things. So if you have no interest in what they're doing, like absolutely no interest, that's a pretty solid reason to not want to see that content. If it rubs against your beliefs, I've written on my notes. So this again can be something that can cause us to feel really angry. So if you are really pro something and they are really, really anti it, and they're clearly passionate about it, but it's just absolutely against what you believe, that might be a reason to unfollow, to unlike, to mute, because you don't need to be barraged by things that you don't want to see, that actually anger you or make you cross, or just get all your blood boiling. And that's good enough reason to unfollow or mute. The last point I've put here is doing it because you feel you have to. And I know I've said about real life friends versus internet friends, but if you feel like the only reason you are double tapping, you are liking, you are commenting with something really inane and vanilla is because you have to, that is possibly even deeper than the mute and follow. That is looking at, why do you feel you have to do that? And that's a really good point too. But if you feel you have to, I'd say you probably do need to examine it a little bit more. But also, if you feel you have to, what would happen if you didn't? Would the world end? You've got to think about these things. If it is a real life friend, again, this does tip the balance a little bit, because you do feel that you may feel that you have to support your real life friends, and quite rightly, that's kind of what friends do. But you don't have to support them in that way. Maybe you can support them in actual real life. Maybe you send them a text, an iMessage, or maybe you take them out for a cup of tea, or you can support people in different ways that don't mean that you hate them if you aren't liking, commenting and everything on every post they ever put up. Now, with all of these things, it's up to you. As I said, it doesn't have to be a complete and final measure. It doesn't have to be a temporary thing. It can be whatever you want to make it. But I just feel like we need to shine a bit of a light on this, because I know now I've dithered about unfollowing and muting people because, oh, what if I upset them? And these aren't people I have anything to do with beyond the world of social media. But the content is not sitting well with me for whatever reason. And actually, when I have taken the plunge, which sounds really dramatic, but I'm talking like muting someone, which they don't even know you've muted them, I felt much lighter for it. I like the mute function because it isn't making such an obvious statement. It's not saying screw you in the nicest possible way. It's just no one knows that it's happened. It also means if you mute somebody, you can just mute them so they don't appear on your feed, but you can pop along and you can see what they're up to, and you can leave comments when you like without feeling that it's all consuming and that you can't get away from it. The thing is, it's up to you. We feel like we have to do these things, and I don't want you to feel like that, because it can take any joy out of social media if you've got this shadow and like a big cloud hanging over you about what you have to do for various reasons, when actually you don't have to do anything. You don't have to use social media in any way that you don't want to use it. You can make it work for you. And part of that is being really selective about who you follow. There's lots of ideas about who you follow, and some people will only pick accounts to follow that make them feel uplifted or happy or anything like this. And I feel like with the amount of time we spend on social media, myself included, you've got to be careful about the stuff that is in front of your eyes. I guess it's a bit like choosing what magazines you read. It's choosing what television programs you watch. You wouldn't put yourself in a position where you were consuming media on any other level that you weren't happy to receive, So I am a complete wimp and can't deal with any scary films or any horror films, so I wouldn't choose to watch them. But if you're following the wrong people on social media, for me, it would be like watching a horror film all the time. Well, I wouldn't do that. So don't let the lines become blurred. You can just mute the horror film on social. You don't let those lines become blurred. It's up to you what you consume. It's up to you how you let that affect you. Because you have the power to stop the first step, to stop the second, or to deal with the second and mute the first whilst you're dealing with the second. Don't forget, you have the power to curate your own feed on social media. It's like your own magazine or your own television program that you're picking every actor, every role, every image, every article. So pick well, because when you use the platforms, you want it to be a really positive experience. And that is why you sometimes will need to mute and unfollow people, and that you shouldn't be afraid of doing that. So I've now dismounted from my high horse, and I'd love to know what you think about this. I know it's a really kind of taboo subject, but I think it's a really important one to discuss, because I see a lot on social media. I see a lot from people that I know, but I also see a lot from people in the wider world, and I do a stupid amount of reading about it all too. And the effect that the media we consume can have on us is massive, and we need to take that control back and start being really aware of the impacts it has on us, and therefore what we can do to change it. I'd love your thoughts on this, and I would also love you to screenshot, you know what's coming, don't you? Screenshot, share to Instagram stories, and tag me if you have listened. And I'd love you to comment on the post, which will be on my Instagram in the morning when you hear this, and tell me if you can relate to any of these points. Have you unfollowed, muted? You don't have, God, don't say who, that kind of completely removes the anonymous aspect. But have you done any of those things? Have you felt like social media is affecting your mental health? Have you stopped following people because you just now don't have any interest in what they're saying, or it rubs against your core beliefs and you're not good with that? I would absolutely love to know. If you'd like to DM me, feel free. I think it's a really interesting subject, and one I think that we need to keep talking about, that it's okay not to follow everybody in the world. We need to look after what's coming in front of our eyes, because the time that we spend not just consuming it, but the time that we churn it over and process it and let it bother us is really, really precious. So that is today's Small and Supercharged podcast for you. If you would like to join a really lovely group on social media, then hop over to the Small and Supercharged Facebook group. I've got two Facebook groups. One is free, which is just called Small and Supercharged, and then there is a paid for one called Mastermind, where each month we have a masterclass with me around a specific subject connected to social media or promoting your brand or personal brand. We also have stock images from the incredible Sophie Callahan. We now have a monthly mindset masterclass from the very lovely Jane Pike. And we also have a weekly Q&A live training session and lots more besides. That is Mastermind. So the free one is called Small and Supercharged, which is an incredible community. Come on over and join that. Just search it on Facebook. And if you'd like to know more about Mastermind, you can pop to my website, riafreemanpr.co.uk, and you'll see Small and Supercharged Mastermind right at the top there, or feel free to send me a DM. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch up very, very soon.